What's up, y'all? This is Be Better Than Your BS with Risha Grant, the people's champ. No fluff, no filters, just real women with real receipts. Talking leadership, life, pressure, purpose, and what it really costs to show up fully. Whether you're climbing the corporate ladder or building something of your own, if you've ever felt too much for some rooms and not enough for others, pull up a chair. These conversations are for you. This is the Zerlo Network, powered by people who make it possible. Today's guest is a woman who doesn't just talk impact. She builds it, she moves it, and she lives it. LaDondra Wilson is the Vice President of Social Responsibility for the Dallas Wings, and she is out here making sure that the heart of this WNBA franchise beats far beyond the court. From championing community initiatives to creating pathways for young people to see themselves in spaces they never imagined, LaDondra is proof that purpose and power can live in the same job title. She's a strategist, a connector, a culture shifter, and a woman who leads with intention. And when you see the way she weaves community leadership and authenticity together, you realize she's playing on a completely different level. Y'all help me welcome the incredible, unstoppable, community-driven force that is LaDondra Wilson. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad that you're here because I love basketball. I love the WNBA, and I'm really interested in getting to know you better. But before we get started, there is one thing that I start every conversation with, because we all carry BS. So
Absolutely.
What is the BS that you had to push through to get to where you are today?
Oh, wow. So much, obviously.
Tell us about it.
Well, I'm just a young girl from South Oak Cliff, an urban neighborhood,
Right.
The hood.
Right.
So obviously that comes with a lot of BS, a lot of non-truths being told, a lot of obstacles, a lot of negative statistics. South Oak Cliff to this day is the unhealthiest zip code. I come from 75216, and I'm a young 40-year-old. And for 40 years, for my 40 years and probably beyond that, it has again been the unhealthiest zip code. So many health disparities there.
Right.
Uninsured, underinsured. It is unfortunately from the cradle to prison pipeline. So highest prison statistics there. And so the BS there is just that there's not really any success stories, and that is BS because
Right.
you see me here.
So
but
how did you push through it?
Really, because that is BS. That is not the truth, and it's not just myself. There are so many more of myself and people beyond me. While I was there in Oak Cliff, there were so many role models that were there that really you just were motivated. It's
Right.
not what you really see is what you can believe.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that was the first level of BS that I had to push through. And then just working in a male-dominated industry
Right.
when people are telling you this is not where you need to be. And that too
Right.
is BS. And so I came in this field after being laid off, and so after being discouraged and doors closed and obstacles, and so there's just so many levels of the BS that you just have to push through and have to believe in yourself.
That's true. And when you talk about the disparate zip codes, that's something we live in one of those back home. And same thing about from birth to cradle and all of the things. And you're right, there are so many people from that community that are out there killing it.
Yeah.
That have been role models, continue to be role models, and continue to show that it doesn't matter where you grow up. It matters what you believe, what you're putting inside of yourself. Now, you have an interesting job title, social responsibility. Just break that down a little bit for us.
Sure. So I have the great privilege of being the first person in this role. So I'm the inaugural executive director and vice president of social responsibility. And so when we decided to bring this role to the Dallas Wings, we kind of went back and forth on what the title would be. And so it could have been corporate social responsibility. It could have been community engagement. It could have been a lot of different things. And so initially we thought about corporate social responsibility, but it's not that. We wanted to make sure that people understood exactly what we would be doing. This department lived in our marketing department initially. Okay. And so when you think about marketing, it's about expanding the brand. It's about making sure that there's this footprint in the community where people know who we are. And we wanted to make sure that we went beyond just storytelling and above being just a brand and went into impact. And so we felt like we had a responsibility to do that.
Right.
And obviously to make social impact. And so we were very intentional about the title in itself.
Right.
And then obviously my goal was to start our nonprofit. And so that's why the second part of my title is
So what
executive
exactly
director.
is social responsibility, though?
It's having a responsibility to make social impact in our communities.
Okay.
And so it's simple as that. And so when you see corporate social responsibility, it's our corporations that are doing the same thing,
Right.
making an impact in our social.
And it's so needed.
And it is.
Companies have to exist outside of what they do because they touch so many people. And when you talk about something like the WNBA, I was that young girl sitting there playing basketball every day, wishing for a professional basketball team. So my goal was to, because I'm older, Gen X, my goal was to graduate, go to college, play D1, and then go overseas because that was the only option available to me. But then I would hear the stories of how, first of all, long distance bills were ridiculous because, and people were so lonely and all those things. So to have something like the WNBA exist was a dream come true. And I know a little bit about the Wings because they came from Tulsa, which is where I live.
Okay.
And so they were the Tulsa Shock. They moved to Dallas. Now we were pissed in Tulsa. I'm just going to tell you.
Sorry.
We were pissed in Tulsa because I had the opportunity to know a lot of the players and got to meet Cheryl Swoops because she played in Tulsa for a bit. Marion Jones played in Tulsa for a bit. And so I know a lot of the owners. So this team kind of means something to me. But what was the moment for you when you realized that this is the thing I'm meant to do? Like, I want to do this. Or did you have that moment?
Yeah, well, it wasn't on my bingo card.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm a social worker by trade. And so
Okay.
just making an impact. And then Dallas is my city. And so having an opportunity to give back in my city, and again, really for me, it was the responsibility of doing so. I received so many different, I was the recipient of getting so many people pouring into me. And so that was always a dream. So being a social worker was, I believe, my calling. And so again, I'm a fan of sports. I'm probably that obnoxious Cowboys fan that's saying we're going to the Super Bowl.
Okay,
every
you
year.
sound like my daddy, yes.
So I am all Dallas teams. I'm a fan of them.
Okay.
And so when the Wings came, obviously I became a Wings fan, and I'm a fan of all things women. I'm a feminist. And then I've always been a fan of the WNBA. And
Right.
so when it was the Houston Comics, that was my team. And so
Right.
obviously when when there was no longer the Houston, when we got Dallas Wings, and they became my team. And so I was always a fan, and I've always been a fan of the WNBA because it is the most progressive league. And
Yes.
I used to always just say that, but then the statistics show that we are the only league for the last 18 years that have received an A+ rating on the TIES report. The TIES report is the report that grades all leagues on racial and gender equity. And so
Yes.
we are the only league that has received an A+ on that. And you have to think about it, with women, we have to advocate for ourselves. And so the WNBA is 80% African American women, and a large majority also identify as being a part of the LGBTQ plus community. So they have to advocate for themselves.
And they've done an amazing job with that.
Absolutely.
I mean,
so I was a fan of the W, and then a fan of the Wings. And so when I was laid off with my job, I knew that I wanted to find something that I could be authentically myself. And so when the Dallas Wings had this role, it was just a perfect match. And so again, wasn't on my bingo card. I didn't realize that this would be something that I would be doing, but it was just the perfect match.
So you talked about empowerment. And so when I think about companies that really have represented through DEI, of course, the W is a big part of that. So how has your own personal culture evolved through that journey? When I say personal culture, I'm talking about the impact that you create. I'm sorry, the vibe that you create when you walk in a room and the impact that you leave behind. How has yours evolved through just the visibility?
Yeah, well, one, I can show up as myself, and that's something that's really important to me. I don't have to code switch. I'm going to come as myself all the time. And one, I can be relatable to the players. So when I started with the WNBA, or with the Dallas Wings specifically, again, most of the players, as a league, 80% of the players are African-American, but most of our players were African-American. But beyond that, again, we're all women. And so with the Dallas Wings, the majority majority of our staff are women, but when I started, in our executive team, I will say, were majority women, but there were not any African-American women on our executive team.
Okay.
And I think that it was important that they saw representation.
Right,
and
for
so
sure.
for me, being able to be there and they saw that there was a woman and a woman of color that they could relate to, that was important to me. And so I wanted to be able for the players to see that, and I wanted the community to be able to see that there was a representation also that looked like them in our office. Our fan base is majority African American, and I wanted that to also be reflective there as well.
So let's talk about mindset a little bit, because that's really what this segment is about. And you talked about coming from Oak Cliff, and I know just a little bit about Oak Cliff. So, and what you said is really all I know about it, which is ridiculous. But what is your mindset on a daily basis to stay in the space of, I can do this, I'm enough, I'm that chick? Like, what is the space?
Resiliency.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much hardship, and so to know that I've been able to overcome a lot, then there's not much that can stop me. So I just go into every situation like that, and most people may say it's cockiness, but it's determination and resiliency.
I love it. LaDondra just dropped game on the mindset that will set you up for success. Up next, the major plays she implemented to take her life to that next level. Want more of what you're watching? Watch us on Roku, Amazon Fire, or listen on Spotify, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio, to name a few. We are back with LaDondra Wilson, Vice President of Social Responsibility at the Dallas Wings. Now that we know what shaped you, let's get into how you actually move. So this is the play where we break down your strategy, the role you play inside the Dallas Wings organization, and how you create real change while keeping personal culture intact. So tell me what social responsibility, I know what social responsibility, we know what it is now, but what does it look like in the WNBA exactly?
Yeah, well, it's really exciting because the players have such a big role within it. The Players Association, they actually drive what we do on a day-to-day, which is so important to me because I think that they need to have a hand in what we do. So before the season started, the Players Association, they get to determine kind of what the pillars are for each season. So it doesn't stay the same because, as you know, the world evolves, the priorities change each year. So they get to determine kind of what the priorities are that each team will be able to implement in their markets, because obviously in each market it is different. In the great state of Texas, we are very different than maybe some other states. And so each year, I'll just say, for instance, one year we may be focused on civic engagement, which could be really important in a presidential election year. One year, particularly, like I believe year before last, we focused on women's health, and it really talked about the rights of women's body. In here in Texas, again, very conservative. We had a time focusing on that, but we didn't back away from it. And then last year, we also focused on women's health, but it was more on breast health awareness. And so I love that the players get to kind of determine that, because we have their buy-in. But we start at the players level, and then on the league level, all of the team, my counterparts, we meet monthly. And then we talk about how we will implement that on our level. And we also talk about what the challenges are, and if there are national nonprofits that we want to maybe partner with, we have them on the calls. But each team can then decide how we want to implement that. I love it because we get to talk about my department, my team, we find the nonprofits that, just to be completely honest, that are serving those marginalized communities that don't have the resources, so then we can help with the resources that we have to ensure that they are able to move forward their pillars. We then have the Commissioner's Cup, which is internal. In the season, there's a competition where the teams are basically playing for money for those nonprofits that we select. And so that's why we select the nonprofits that are serving marginalized communities that may not have large budgets. So that's really exciting. But the work that we do is really important because, again, these are issues that are impacting us worldwide, but then we get to work on them at a local level.
Do you know what initiatives you are looking to plan for 2026?
Well, we know what we're doing as an organization, but not what the players have selected just yet.
Okay. So the WNBA has always led the way when it comes to activism. I mean, from just even the T-shirts, I remember them just standing in solidarity when we were during the Black Lives Matter movement and all of those things, and it felt good as a woman of color, all of the things to actually like see a team or an organization truly step out that already was not making the money, right? Because a lot of people don't want to do it because it might affect their paycheck. These women already weren't making the money. They already had a lot at stake and they still stepped up. So how do you balance that legacy with the business side of the sport? Because again, my paycheck might I mean, quite honestly, when I told you I spoke for one of the NBA teams, and the guys that were in the audience, just the team. Yeah. And they didn't want to really have the conversation around DEI. And it was so funny because when we got out, one of the, well-known stars, he had me hemmed up in a corner telling me all this stuff. And I said, why didn't you say it in there? And he said, well, HR is in there. And I'm like, somebody at your level is worried about your paycheck because you're making more money than you possibly would spend, right? How do you align? How do the women first of all find it within themselves, and then how's the WNBA deal with that on the business side? Yeah,
well, I think I'm so very proud of our players, and I just completed my 5th season. They're so bold. I've not ran into that yet. But what's important to me, because they're so young as well, and so I don't know if it's because this generation is just bold and
just
outrageous
out there,
and crazy, and I love it. But what's really important to me too, again, I'm a social worker, is that they're educated and informed.
Right.
Like, don't start talking about something you don't know. And so it's important to me. I'll use this as an example. We play in the summer, and so we don't get to commemorate as a team Black History Month. Now, in the off season, we still activate. So we commemorate Juneteenth, and as you know, we were able to make that a federal holiday. And we have the great privilege of having Dr. Opal Lee here in our home state. She's right here in Fort Worth. Okay. And so everyone, I'm just going to be completely honest, want Dr. Opal Lee around to maybe have her at a game, wave, and sit down. And for me,
now tell us who Opal Lee is.
Dr. Opal Lee is the grandmother of Juneteenth, and was she led and ensured that Juneteenth became a federal holiday, and President Biden ensured that happened. And she's right here in Fort Worth, Texas. And so most teams, no shade, they'll have her at games and she'll wave and sit down. and it was very important to me, because I understand that most of our players, the majority of our players, I think, at that time, none of them were from Texas, but we did have one player that was from Texas. But if you're not from here, you may not know the history of Juneteenth, and it just became a federal holiday. Well, it was important to me, and I tracked her down, found her granddaughter, and I asked, could she come to a practice, and could she talk to them? I could have read it from a book, and she did. She came, and she spoke, and she talked about the history of how her family celebrated Juneteenth, how her family's home was mobbed, and it was actually burnt down, and again, how they celebrated Juneteenth, how she walked and went to D.C. and they were able to make it a federal holiday. And the players were just enamored, and there were tears, and I interviewed her like you're interviewing me, so she could talk about it. And then, so she came to practice ahead of the Juneteenth game, and then she came to the game, and we presented her with a jersey and all the things. But ahead of the game, she was there, and the players, they were at shoot around, and they came, stopped, and so now they know who she is. They don't have to talk about it. And she's come to every game since then. And she just turned 100 years old this year. And she's still, she's probably more fit than me. It's crazy. But for me, it's about education. So now you're not just out making posts, and you're not just wearing these shirts because it's cool to be, Black Lives Matter. And so that's what we do at the Wings. It's not just about a phase, because now it's cool to be an activist. But now for me, it's about education as much as they would like to be educated. Like you said before, we do the T-shirts, Black Lives Matter is on our court, but I want them to be educated.
Yeah, it's really important. I think that's something athletes really, from education from every standpoint, right, especially financial literacy, because I think we see too many of our athletes end up without any money, any way to take care of themselves.
because I can honestly say you put it all on the line and your body will give out.
Right.
And that's why I didn't realize that dream is, I told you coming up here, I'm on my 5th knee surgery.
Yeah.
And so I think it's super important that that education, and I love that sports teams are really taking that serious now. As far as making sure that their players are educated in every area. So what does it take for you to actually get buy-in from the corporate sponsors, the community partners, that really is not just about good PR, but that impact?
Well, for us, doing good is good for business. And I'll say this, when I started in 2020, it was after George Floyd was murdered. And everybody wanted to do something good to show that, we're good people.
Right.
Just being honest. I wanted to even ensure that I wasn't being hired as a DEI hired, just to be completely honest, because everybody wanted to be, now people are moving away from DEI, but back then everybody wanted to have a person of color and wanted to make sure that they were doing the right thing.
Right.
Just to be completely honest. And so now, it's good to do good, right? It's just good business. But when we work with our corporate partners, we have a foundation, we have 5 pillars. We do put community elements in our corporate partners' contracts, and you can't just do whatever you want to do. These are our 5 pillars. These are the community elements that we're activating. You want to do these? If you don't,
we can't be a partner.
We can, but we won't be doing just whatever you want to do.
Exactly, I got you. Okay.
We can put your name in some lights, but these are our community elements. And so it's a marketing agreement, or these are the community elements.
So you mentioned I want to be a DEI hire, and that is so near and dear to my heart because I spent 27 years in DEI. I built the first firm in the state of Oklahoma. And I would tell clients all the time, people do not want to be hired, first of all, based on their skin color, their affiliation with LGBT plus or any of those things. People want to be hired because they can actually do the job.
Right.
I said, I personally don't know any people of color that just want a job. I said, I'm sure there's some out there, right? But that really just want a job simply because they're a Black woman.
Right.
Because at some point you're going to have to perform that job. You can't just get it for that reason. So I appreciate you saying that. Like, I didn't want to just be this.
Right.
And I really think that's a lot of the misconception that is out there. You hear these one-liners about being a DEI hire, and it goes through me. But I know that the people, at least I've worked with the biggest corporations in the world, and I know that these people deserve to be where they are. Again, not saying that there aren't people out there that might have taken advantage of the situation, but I love that you went in like, no, I'm not going to just be this. It has to be this, and I think that's so important for people to hear. So, LaDondra, before we move on, where can people go to connect with you and learn more about you and what you do?
Yeah, LinkedIn is probably where I thrive most. That's where I love to connect with people. I think that there's so many different industries, and so I like to cross sectors and industries, so LinkedIn.
Okay. Y'all heard it, LinkedIn, LaDondra Wilson. All right, that was powerful, but now it's time to get into what the people can take home and use. Up next is the post game. This is a part of the show where we're going to turn your experience into practical plays that our audience can start running today.
Want more of what you're watching? Watch us on Roku, Amazon Fire, or listen on Spotify, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio, to name a few.
Welcome back to Be Better Than Your BS. It's time for the post game. We're going to slow it down, reflect, and share the real playbook for anyone out there trying to make their mark. Now, for people who want to make a difference in where they work, what's one simple way to start leading with social responsibility?
I think empathy. I mean, it's not something that you can, frankly, start doing overnight. I think if you're not an empathetic, compassionate person, it's going to be really hard.
But can you learn it? Can you learn empathy?
No. I'm just I'm gonna keep it real. No, I think you can learn how to be there for others, and you can learn how to show up. But
you think it's something you just got to have in you?
I do.
But what if someone said
you can learn how to show up?
You can learn how to show up. You can learn how to show care. You can say, LaDondra, how's your day going today? Anything going on with you that I can do to make your life easier, or and I think, yes, it's rehearsed. Yes, it may not be from the heart, but you're
you can
trying.
learn how to show up, and you can learn how to be there. But if you're not an empathetic person, because these are real problems that people have,
Right.
and if you don't really care, like sincerely care, that's going to be a concern, because you're going to be judgmental. You're going to be,
and
we are all biased,
Right,
for sure. Like I have my own biases,
Right.
But if you're not an empathetic person, that's going to be a challenge for you.
So let's talk about that for a second. What can leaders do who say, I'm not very empathetic, but I would like to be a better leader?
I think that just learning and starting where people are. And I think that, and I know it sounds really cliche, volunteering and things like that, but I think when you really want to learn how people got where they are, because I think that there's this misconception that people have about people that have challenges. Some people are just one paycheck away. Think about the pandemic and think about even the economy now.
Right.
We are all in challenging times,
For
but
sure.
some people just have misconceptions and privileges that removes them away from reality.
Right.
And so I think if you just put yourself in position, and that can be as simple as volunteering. Again, it sounds
you're
very
right.
cliche.
No.
And then I think that maybe that empathy can come, but if you're not going to remove the biases and the misconceptions, then it is going to be really challenging.
And for sure, I think that if you can engage with people, because, and you say volunteering sounds cliche, but it is truly how you can experience the way that somebody else is living and experiencing the world, and to get into their world. I almost think you have to be a sociopath not to be able to feel something for when people are going through things. That,
and it's not social responsibility. You can show up in other ways.
Right, for sure.
But this work, it is almost, it's a lot. You have to put a lot, and it takes a lot away from you. But you can always do other things to be a leader, and it doesn't have to be social responsibility.
But if I'm a company and I say, you know what, I'm listening to her, it makes sense for us to start a social responsibility office. What's that first thing that I should think about?
And that's the other thing. You can give back in other ways. I like to tell people, if people are already doing the work, help them do the work. You don't have to recreate the wheel, reinvent the wheel. Because everyone wants to give and do these things, but there are so many organizations that are already doing the work.
Sure.
Contribute and support them.
Yeah.
If you have the same values and interests.
It's so much less work to do that.
Absolutely.
Because I'm telling you, starting a nonprofit is a whole different world, a whole different animal.
It's too many.
And quite honestly, and we were talking about this in another interview a little bit, what makes you a good volunteer or a good corporate social responsibility person does not make you a good person to go and start that organization.
Exactly.
Because there are so many other things happening around that you're not familiar with. Now, for someone who feels like their voice doesn't matter, what's your advice for finding power and purpose in the spaces that they're in?
Yeah, I think that, again, it always starts with giving yourself the permission to understand, one, why you feel like you don't have the power. Sometimes it's, for me at least, I had to go back and think about the little girl in me. Like, what were those things, that when I felt powerless, those things that were whispered to me or told to me that I had to unhear, right?
Yeah.
Or that I had to speak to myself. So sometimes it's the reassurance, but then again, sometimes it's just speaking life into yourself.
Yes. You got to do that a lot.
A lot. Because even in today's time, like, there are going to be people even now, as confident as I am now, that are going to say, you can't do that, or why are you doing that, or you doing too much.
Yes.
So you always have to reassure yourself, frankly.
Right.
And then I think being around positive people is who you surround yourself around.
Yes.
Frankly, sometimes it's, if people are always telling you, girl, you're doing too much. Okay, well, you're not doing enough.
Yeah.
so it's about
find another group.
One, speaking life into yourself, and then evaluating who you're around as well. And then doing the work, because it's really hard to be positive when I'll just tell you, sometimes that little pity party. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels good for a second.
That little pity party, and it's gonna be hard days for sure.
Right.
But then after you give yourself that little time to be like, okay, why me? Da, 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 get on up and do the work.
Dust yourself off.
Yeah.
But how do you, because some people don't know how to speak life into themselves. They don't know how to speak positivity into themselves. And they may not have that crew that's going to uplift them. What can they do? How can they access those things?
I think, and it took me a long time to really do this because I think I was the person always pouring, and you can't pour from an empty cup.
Right.
And so I would advise getting a mentor. And sometimes that is hard, finding the right person, so that does take some work.
Right.
But I do think that it is advantageous to have that person that is that person that is maybe doing something that you want to do, that you haven't been able to figure out how to do, to have someone that is going to, when you're down, to lift you up, because you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
And so I do think having a coach, a sponsor, a mentor is going to be encouraging, because I was that person that I was like, okay, once I've gotten to that level, then how do I move forward? And it took me a long time, like very recently, to realize, like, okay, I need someone to help me navigate the spaces that I haven't been.
And that's super important. I've never been big on therapy, but I know, like,
definitely,
it should be something that if you can incorporate it into your life, you should incorporate it into your life. And that's something that I have recently, within the past few years, started to believe, because I've just like, I got to go do it. I don't even have time for it, right? I gotta go do it. But I really want to say to our audience, find ways to feed yourself, to figure out who you are and what you need, and sometimes you got to push your own damn self. Like, let's be real.
You don't have to be depressed or in a sunken state for therapy. And I think especially in our community,
sunken state. Thank you. Yes.
I think that we have this this thought of what a person, like, you got to be on the couch and depressed and all. No, sometimes it's preventative. Right?
Yeah, for sure. I always thought, especially because I'm well known in the city that I'm from, I always thought, now people are gonna be out there telling my business, and and that was something real for me, even if it was my perception. Even if it wasn't real, it was real for me, and it took a lot to get through that. So, what is one lesson that you think sports can teach everybody?
Oh man, I learned so many lessons in sports. I was telling this the last time I spoke. I was like, I think now that I'm in sports, I talk like, everything I say is like in sports related. Sports so obnoxious, actually. But it's because it's so many lessons in sports, right? Because obviously, like I just talked about, like having that right crew, that speaks, to teamwork. Like, you really can't, I know that you have to, like, depend on yourself, but like there's not really, you don't have to do everything by yourself. Like, having that team, even if it's their core five, like, that's important. The resiliency that it takes. So practice makes perfect. That's something that I've learned. Like, you don't have to be perfect, but the more you work on something. When I see the work that our ladies put in and day out, what you don't see, you see what they do at the games, but it's what they do behind the scenes, the hours that they put in. And so that's something that I really have started to work, like, on my craft. Like, people see, the awards that I get, or, when I'm out speaking, but it's really what I do when no one is around. And so that's something that I think about in sports, is the practice and the hours that they put in. And so that's something that I've thought a lot about. But more than anything, I think it's the teamwork. And so that's why I like to say, when I think about the starting five, I really do. I think about having that mentor. I think about, you have that bestie. I have someone that pushed me. I have someone that I listen to. And so I really relate a lot of my life to sports now.
Yeah, and it's crazy when you talk about teamwork. I'm just in a challenging part of my life. And so I know as I was talking about it to someone, I'm like, my foundation is a little cracked, because the people on my team that have been all the people that push me and all these things, there are certain things that they're going through that has truly cracked the foundation. So my team is like on the bench. And so I'm out here, I feel like I'm out here running the complete length of the court, catching, shooting, rebounding, like, by myself. It's like, the person that used to pass me the ball can't pass the ball right now. And so you're making me think about that, because it is so important to have that team. Sometimes that team is one person. But for me, it was my family. And so as my parents are aging and as things are starting to happen, I'm like, yeah, ain't nobody passing the ball. I'm out here by myself doing an alley-oop and trying to make the shot. So it feels so isolating.
Yeah.
So thank you for saying that. Well, coming up next, LaDondra just gave y'all the playbook for success, so we are going to get to know her a little bit better during the overtime.
Want more of what you're watching? Watch us on Roku, Amazon Fire, or listen on Spotify, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio, to name a few.
All right, y'all, it's time for the lightning round. Let's learn a little more about LaDondra outside of work. All right, what's the best advice you ever received?
Oh, wow. I received so much great advice. I think really just nice and simple, just show up as yourself and no one else.
Okay. So is there a mantra that you live by, something that just dances around in your head?
This is so crazy because this is like all the way back from elementary school. They used to make us say it, good, better, best. Never let it rest until your good is your better and your better is your best. And I used
forgot
to hate
about that. Yes.
I used to hate it, and now I think about it all the time.
And it's actually a good thing to have in your head. But yeah, as a kid, I had not heard that in forever.
Elementary school, seriously.
See, that's why they put those things in us. Okay. What do you think is one thing that people get wrong about working in sports?
Oh, that is fun, and that is like, oh my gosh, I wish I worked in sports. Yeah, no. And I have to be there like at 10 o'clock and the game is like at 8. No, I want to show up with y'all.
Yes, and there are things about every profession. Everybody thinks this is like everything, and the person doing it is like, it's a little bit of that.
Yeah, and it is fun.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
It is entertaining, but like,
it's work.
I was like, why we have to be here all day?
Work.
And it is stuff to do that requires you to be there all day, which is why it's not fun.
Well, it's putting on a big event.
It is.
Like
a production.
Yeah, all the time. I mean, and I'm that event person that will forget the forks, spoons, all the stuff, right? Yeah. So my head is always spinning. So when you think about a game and all the entertainment that goes into that.
It's a full production.
Yes.
And I just want to come watch the game like y'all. Or that I have tickets for every single sports event in the city. Even if I have tickets, I don't have tickets for you.
Yes. You're getting a text from all your friends.
Yeah,
family. All right. What's the morning routine or night owl magic you do when you do your best thinking?
Headed to work, I'm likely listening to a podcast every day. I don't listen to radio and I'm not a big TV watcher, so I think that I always say that my car is my classroom.
Okay, so what are you listening to? What kind of podcast?
Every time I switch a lot. It's funny, I actually text my friend on the way here. I always try to support my friends. So if they're on a podcast or if they have something going on, because I ask them to do the same thing. So whenever you send me this link, I'm going to send it to someone, and I want them to give me positive
and put us
feedback.
in your rotation. And
I want them to support you. So my friend had sent me a podcast that she was on, and so I listened to her podcast on the way here. And so I really try to switch it up. I try to listen to obviously self-help and leadership podcasts a lot, but I always try to support my friends. So it just depends.
All right. So who is one woman in sports or leadership that you love to have lunch with?
Of course, Scent. I love Scent.
Scent Marshall.
Yes,
Dallas
Scent Marshall.
Mavericks.
Scent Marshall.
Okay.
She's just always busy.
She is. I mean, the fact that you just said Scent and I knew who it was, she is somebody I want to have lunch with too.
Scent Marshall, former CEO of Dallas Mavericks.
She's not there anymore?
No. You know they have a new CEO.
No, didn't know. Okay.
They have a CEO and a president actually now. Yeah.
I did not. Okay, we'll talk. Okay.
Yeah, but Sin is my heart. I love her, and we just, she's busy, way busier than me. Not like I'm too busy for her. Sorry.
Right.
Sin, I'm not busy. It's too busy for you, girl.
All right. If you weren't in social responsibility, what would you be doing?
Well, like I said, I'm a social worker by trade, so obviously social work. But as I told you this, I love to talk, so. Maybe, girl, I'll come over here and be a co-host with you.
Come on over here. Come on over. Okay, the hype song for a big day or a big event.
appropriate songs.
You don't have no. It does not have to be appropriate because I'm T.I. motivation all day.
That's one of them actually, but I'm from Oak Cliff, so Oak Cliff Bowleg is always gonna be like something that's just gonna really.
Is that a local?
Yeah,
song?
Bowleg is a local song. So Oak Cliff, that's my hood. It's just called Oak Cliff, but Oak Cliff is gonna always be a song that's just gonna get me hyped.
Okay. All right. Biggest lesson sports has taught you about life?
You know, I think it's really overrated, the whole, like, this is a male-dominated industry, because I think really, seriously, like, with the Dallas Wings, our executive team is predominantly women. Our staff is over 50% women. And so I just think that, like,
It's not true anymore.
Yeah, it's
but from
really,
a coaching perspective, like that's something that I'm paying attention to because
that's so lame.
Yes, it is.
I hate to say that.
No, it is really lame.
It is
but
so
you
lame.
You have really no female coaches in men's sports, but you have a lot of men's coaches in women's sports, and I think we need to level that out.
And I know it's like, you know, who's the most talented, but that's not even, and I hate to say this, but that's not even, it's like they're not even giving the women a chance.
No, they're not, and we could do a whole show on that, so I'm not going to keep. But I do want to know how you went from. Please keep your job. Do not lose it here.
But they know I say anything, so.
I do want to know how you went from social work to social responsibility.
Yeah, well, I have a jigsaw puzzle of a career. So traditional social worker. So I've done everything from at-risk youth to domestic violence survivor. Most of my career was working with unsheltered individuals. And then, like I said, I was laid off. And honestly, though, my goal, well, I went from social work to leadership development. And that was because I've done everything in nonprofit work. I had just got my master's in social work. And honestly, I feel like nonprofits do amazing work, but they work really hard and not smart. And if I could have, I would have probably went back and got my business degree, but I just got a master's and I didn't want any more loans. And so I was like, I need a shortcut in business. And so I started working for the Dallas Regional Chamber, which works with every major corporation and nonprofit and sports teams. And so that was my crash course in business. And so I did leadership development there and worked with every major sports team. And then insert the pandemic, and my role was eliminated, so I got laid off. And then the Dallas Wings, I had worked with the Dallas Wings leadership team literally 1 year to the date of when they needed someone to come and start their foundation. So they needed, I like to say, a unicorn. They needed someone that had business experience and nonprofit experience.
Right.
And the role had not been posted, and they were kind of, you know, when they say it doesn't matter what you know, who you know, they were actually was looking for someone else, and she was no longer in market, and found me.
So your favorite WNBA player?
Cheryl Swoops.
Okay. Love her.
Love you, Cheryl.
Right. How do you define winning in life?
I think it is about defining, you know, your own legacy, building a legacy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Coffee, tea, or energy drink, or something stronger?
Okay, during business hours, it's going to be tea.
Right.
After hours, it's going to be a French 75 with tequila instead of gin.
Okay, French 75 with tequila instead of gin. I don't even know what a French 75 is.
So it's really, so traditionally it's gin, champagne, simple syrup, and lemon.
That sounds so good.
It is. So when I worked in corporate America, instead of me going in and like, you know, give me something strong, most people were doing wine or beer, and I was like, I drink wine, but I was like, give me something strong, but I wanted to look really fancy.
Okay.
And so, and I love champagne actually, but I needed something strong. And so they introduced me to French 75. So it's basically a hard liquor with champagne. And because some people would do it with like Hennessy or like with a cognac, but traditionally it's with gin.
When I come back to Dallas, we're going to have a drink. You're going to introduce me to the French 75 and take me to the spot where they make the best ones.
Oh yes. Well, whenever I go somewhere, I want a French 75, and I judge them on their French 75. So we can go anywhere.
Okay, got you. All right. What's one thing that you're currently learning or unlearning?
You know what? I am learning how to say no. Because I'm the person that will help everybody, and I have not focused on my own career. And by my own career, like I've done a lot, but I've not done enough. And
Okay.
people are like, I just won the Iconic Sports Culture Award for the city of Dallas.
Congratulations.
Thank you. On Friday, Thursday. I've won a lot of awards, and awards don't really move me anymore. So I've accomplished a lot in the eyes of people, but I've not done what LD wants to do. And I'm trying to decide.
What does LD want to do?
Create a legacy. I'm defining what that looks like.
Okay.
And so I've done a lot for a lot of people, but not a lot for LD. And so I'm trying to say more no's unless it is what I want to do. Like things like this.
Okay, love that.
Yeah.
So finish
Which
this.
is helping people, but if like I can help people create their legacy or help people learn what they want to do, like hopefully this will help someone. And so I'm trying to do more of that.
I love that, and the world's going to love that, and we need more of it. So finish this sentence for me. Being better than my BS means.
Being better than my BS means doing what makes me happy.
Okay. That was simple and easy.
Yeah.
Last thing here, a few seconds left. What's one thing you do for self-care that is non-negotiable?
You know what? My spa days.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those are so important. Those are so important.
I'd be like, I got to do
so
it at least once a month.
Okay, tell us where people can find out more about you and your work.
Again, LinkedIn is where I tell people all my business.
Okay.
But I'll say this, once a week now on Wednesdays, I've started to do what I call midweek mirror.
Okay.
And what it is a reflective post each Wednesdays for leaders, and it's a leadership post for leaders to take time to reflect, and is to give advice to leaders, and it's simple stuff for leaders to just take time to reflect.
All right, there you have it. LaDondra, thank you for pulling up and dropping game the way only you can. You're out here proving that social responsibility isn't a department, it's a decision. It's how you show up, how you lead, and how you use your platform for something bigger than yourself. And to everybody watching, here's your takeaway. Impact doesn't start with a title, it starts with your personal culture. You don't have to run a WNBA franchise to change your community. You just have to make the choice to stop sitting on the sidelines of your own influence. Run your play, move with intention, and always be better than your BS.
Be better than your BS. Got a mirror in the mind, reflecting the test. What's the truth in your soul? What's the lie you suppress? Peel the layers back, onion of success. Gotta shed that old skin, no time to regress. From the boardroom table to the block finesse. Risha breaking chains, sparking thought, no less.
Want more of what you're watching? Watch us on Roku, Amazon Fire, or listen on Spotify, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio, to name a few.
Be better, be bold, break through the stress. No excuses, no limits, just progress. Talking culture, human.